Well, let's get right to it. I do not think we have any, we do have one announcement. This is kind of exciting. I think you guys will love it. I know everybody will love it, especially you guys who are listening to the replay. We're going to be doing something slightly different with Sunday calls. They're still the same time. Nothing's changing about them. They're still going to be the similar deal where we talk about our thing for the week and have topic and direction. But I am going to be releasing those topics in advance. Like, you will get a schedule for the next 12 weeks of topics. And that schedule will, one, help you to attend calls that I feel like you will want to be there live. So if there is a topic that you're like, this is the one for me, like I need to be here, then you can come live and come live anyway. But I think that a schedule will be really helpful for everyone. And then that will also be a really nice reference for us to look back on. So if you miss a call, it's not just like, well, should I make up last week? It's, I need to listen to the call about X, and you'll have a really clear idea of what was the topic that was covered, because you'll be able to look at it in the schedule. Does that sound helpful to you guys? Okay. I think that'll be like a really solid way to improve these for everybody, but also they'll make it a really good reference. At the end of the day, we want you to start to build, to identify what places you're making progress. And really, we're focused in 3 different areas. We're focused on helping you build confidence and consistency in your nutrition, in your exercise and movement, and in your boundaries and body image. And really everything we do is kind of around those. Are we helping you build confidence, like knowing what to do? Are we helping you build consistency? Like, are you learning what to do and how to do it in your life and building routines? And are you seeing results and able to like look back on those changes and see the product of your efforts? And so pretty much everything is going to tie into that. It should be really clear in your mind. Oh, this is helping me build consistency with my nutrition, like the topic that we're talking about. Or this is helping me build confidence. I did not know this about, exercise or movement. Now I know this and I'm able to use it. So I'm much more confident in this area. So everything should kind of fall into one of those. So we'll probably start that schedule next week. It's in the works. And so I will put that out for everybody as soon as it's done. Hopefully it'll be ready for next week. But tonight's topic is a return to the basics. So the reason that we're returning to the basics is because we've spent 3 or 4 weeks talking about goals. We've talked about big goals, like setting an intention for the month. We've talked about working ourselves backwards and figuring out how to like apply those goals. How do we know we've reached them? What kind of things are in our way? That's what we talked about last week. But at the end of the day, I feel like I wanted to tell you a little bit of a story, and then we can all relate it to our own personal journey. When I was coaching CrossFit all the time, that was when that was my full-time job. I remember people would ask me things like, how do I do this fancy kind of pull-up? If you do CrossFit, it's called a butterfly pull-up. It's basically the fastest version of a pull-up. Most people do it in competition. It kind of looks like you're like flying through the air like this. It just kind of looks weird. I guess you kind of look like a butterfly because you've got wings. But people would come and they would be like, how do I do this? I've kind of got it and I've got 6, but I really need to do 10. And I would ask questions like, can we all pause for a minute and watch Leah dry that dog? A wet dog. Hilarious. He does not look thrilled. You just keep doing you. Do not unmute. Just keep on drying the dog. So I remember in these moments, people would ask me for the like cool thing. They would want to do the cool thing, or they would see somebody else doing some kind of fancy kind of pull up. And they'd be like, I want to do what so-and-so is doing. Can you show me that? And I would always return to, well, let me see you do this. I'd like to see you hang from the bar and pull yourself up, put your chin over the bar, and then slowly lower down. Like, just real simple, nothing fancy about that. Let me see what you got. And they wouldn't be able to do it. And then I would say, this is why it's hard to do the thing that you're asking, this like complicated, pull up craziness, because this piece of the foundation is missing. And even if you had the skill set around the fancy pull-up, working the foundation ultimately is what gets you better at it sometimes. And but mentally it doesn't feel like that. Mentally it feels like I just need to do this stuff and I'm going to ignore the foundation. And so I wanted to bring that home for us, because here's my question to you. If you were honest, and everybody who's here live and everybody who's listening to this on the replay, if I just asked you honestly, what's your foundation look like right now? How are your basics? How are your Fitme basics? Could you identify if you had holes in your game? So for example, are you doing 2 Fitme plates every day? Do 2 out of your 3 meals look like Fitme plates? Are you paying attention to your portion sizes? Are you sticking with the basics of, if you wouldn't want it in your house on your worst day, then don't buy it? Are we avoiding fast food as much as possible and trying to eat at home when we can? Are we drinking our calories, or are we hitting our water? And then the last piece is, are we moving? Are we moving intentionally 30 minutes a day? And I want to add like 30 minutes of intentional movement a day beyond baseline. So if you've been 10K in it every day for the past 5 years, your 30 minutes of intentional movement is on top of that. Because again, talking about everybody's being an individual. So instead of giving us some sort of strategy, which we need strategies, again, we're trying to like learn how to do all these things better. Today is just a simple return to the basics. It's a simple reminder that we always are going to need to return to these foundation things, and that oftentimes we've got holes in our game. And we want to be like, what's wrong with me? What do I need to do so I can start to see progress? Or I've been plateaued for a while, like why? Or I want to do X, Y, and Z. But when we look at that basic, when I'm like, hey, let me see, are you doing, balanced meals? Let's look at it. Let me see that pull up. I want to see you hang from the bar, pull yourself all the way up with your chin over the bar, and then slowly lower down. What does that look like? And then we can see, okay, all right, well, that's okay. It's not a judgment thing, but we know that if we're not hitting our water, we got to return to that. If we're not getting any vegetables, we got to return to that. If we're only getting a plate sometimes, we got to return to that. So my challenge to you this week, if I was like, here's the thing, here's how I know I'm not right, but here's how I know what I'm saying is meaningful. If tonight my announcement was, hey guys, we're going to play a game. We're going to play a game. It's a challenge. It's going to be really fun for the next 30 days. We're going to play a game with points. All you got to do is hit your Fitme basics. You got to get two Fitme plates a day, drink your water, get your 30 minutes of intentional movement, avoid processed junk, don't drink your calories. You get points for all of this. And I was like, we're going to play a game. And at the end of it, we're going to see how we all do. Everybody's behavior, what we're doing would change. We'd be like, oh, I'm in. I wasn't doing that. I'm going to do it better now. I'm going to do it, because we get motivated by a game or a challenge. And we're like, yeah, I actually been kind of doing it, but not really. So I'm going to tune it up, because I understand like we're playing a short-term game. I get it. We could play a game. We probably will again soon. I'm not against the game. But in today's coaching call, what I am doing is asking you to return to it anyway. These goals are your individual goals. You want them for a reason. And so that is the game. It's, is the foundation in place? Because once a foundation is consistent, that's really where you can build off of it, right? It's like, okay, well, you are doing these things. They are in place. You have been doing consistently. So let's build on that. Then if you're plateaued, then it's like, okay, well, we know what we need to do. We can make this change. Or again, it's like, it's something as simple as being hydrated. It's hard. I get it. Drinking water, not my favorite. I got to play games with myself every day. I got to fill my water bottle before 8 a.m. I got to drink my drink in 10 sip increments, because Leah said that works, and it does. It works for me. Like stuff like that. But again, it's just a return to the basics. If we're not hydrated, our bodies aren't doing as well as they could be doing. So tonight's call is not sexy. It's not new. There's nothing new under the sun here. We're just returning to these basic things. Did you have a season where you were doing the basics better? That's another great question to ask yourself. And if you look back and you're like, you know what, I was crushing it at this point, then that can be very empowering. Again, we're not judging ourselves. That's not the point. There's no judgment here. It's simply asking yourself, what was I doing then that I'm not doing now? And could I do it? Or could I adapt it for my now season? So if there was a time when you were like crushing the 10K every day, and now it's been gone for a while, which that is me confessing it to you guys, that I used to do that every day and it's been gone for a while. But that's a basic thing. Like I could do all sorts of fancy stuff in the gym, but I really just need to return to getting in those steps every day. So what was I doing then that I'm not doing now? Well, I remedied that by getting myself a treadmill so that I could walk when I do my coaching calls. That's what I was doing before that I'm not doing now. And I haven't been doing it because the weather's crap. So that is just me giving you an example of a basic for me. Let's talk about this. How does this resonate? Do you feel like this is a good reminder that you need? Was there a time when you felt like you were crushing those basics, but they've kind of slipped? Talk to me about where you're at with this.
I can go.
All right, Katie.
So I feel like for me, my basic that has slipped some is eating out. Like not necessarily McDonald's, but like just not eating at home as much. And it's really hard when you're trying to grab stuff on the run to make a Fitme plate. Whereas if I like planned ahead, like I know exactly how to do and put it in my little cooler, it would be a non-issue. But I've totally.
That's a great one, actually. Most of these are slips, and I love the way that you said that. Like, so is it just because your schedule is different, or just because it's sort of just gotten complacent around, well, I'll just grab that on the go?
It's just totally complacency.
I like that, and I like the awareness around it. Again, it depends. Everybody's goal is a little bit different. But when our goal is to see like body composition change, if we're looking for that kind of change, like we want body fat to go down, we want muscles to go up, eating out just by default makes it harder. Just, I mean, as a blanket general, I mean, you can always do your best and you should, and there's no like pass fail. But if you have a choice, eating out's always going to make it harder. For sure. I think that's a good one, Katie. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it before we go into, then I want to hear Natika. What are you going to do about it? Tell us.
So I am going to plan ahead. I have a little blue igloo cooler and I need to pack. So like cut up veggies and put them in a baggie, and you know, like I could even microwave things places. Like the gym has a microwave even. So I don't get together.
Okay. I like it. It's a good one. And now that can be the thing that your coach can help you hold you accountable for and make a plan around that piece of your foundation.
Yeah.
Good one. Natika, what were you going to say?
Mine is portion sizes, and it's particularly around carbs, but it feels like as the year progresses, so it's almost like the you know how at the beginning of the year you get back on track, you set goals, and then they're gone by March. that's how it feels like with the carbs for me. So I had my check-in with Molly. So I had already discussed prior to this call that I was getting, my carbs were growing. So I've already started being more aware, but it seems like as the year progresses, my awareness slips. So right now it's January. So I'm all gung-ho. I'm going to do good. I'm going to eat right. My portions are going to be good, because that's how it is every year. And as the year progresses, we get to November, October, December, my carbs definitely seem to be much bigger on my plate than everything else.
They have studies that show that the human eye does a terrible job of estimating portion sizes. And so there's not, I think what you're observing isn't incorrect. Or even there's nothing wrong with you. It just might need that you might need to calibrate more than once a year and bring it back to measuring portion sizes for carbs, once or twice a year. So that way it starts back. But I think what you're observing is really common. They tend to grow or change over time. I measured out a portion size of peanut butter the other day and I was like, well, that's not what I've been having. And again, it's just a good calibration once in a while for that stuff that tends to grow.
And Natika, with your metabolism reviews, that's something that we're going to focus on. So at least 4 times a year, you're going to be calibrating, and that's going to lead to a much shorter time where your awareness slips, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cindy designed an entire app around the fact that humans suck at estimating things. Her app is for the medical field, but yeah, our eyeballs are not great at estimating things. What else, guys? Honest assessment, like zero judgment. This is just a calibration on the basics. What else do you need to pay attention to? Or what else was better, like in your, like Natika said, when you get all like fired up and things are on point, what's different for you?
Something that slipped for me is scheduling my movement weekly. And I find, like, especially with busy, I'll get really busy into work and my whole day's done. And I maybe remembered to eat lunch, but I definitely didn't get movement in. So I have to return to the basic of putting that on my calendar. I did that today, including walks. I put on my calendar for the next week because I need to freaking move.
I like that. It's funny because part of what made me think of this was getting ready for the next On Track group. So we have in On Track, it's basically our new version of Foundation. Some people went through Foundations, but On Track introduces those. So one of the things that you do in On Track is schedule your workouts. It's just the beginning of doing that regularly. And you're right, Molly, it's like something that you can return to. And you need to, again, if you're doing it every day, then you don't need to return to it. It's already a part of your routine. But once it slips, then it's like, well, I got to schedule it.
Mine is definitely eating snacks. It slips. Like, I forget to add that snack in. I'll be like, solid, I ate breakfast, and then I like rush through the morning getting everything done, get my lunch, and then I realize at 5 o'clock, I'm starving. Why am I so starving? Oh, I never had my snacks. I never made the time for that. And that's just prep for me, making sure I have my vegetables cut, making sure what protein I'm going to eat during those snacks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's the first thing for me that slips.
What if you packed your snacks like the way that you pack your kids' stuff to go? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely do that with the veggies. And if I have the baggie pre-cut up, it's so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like if you have a co-op day and you're packing lunches, you should be packing your snacks.
I definitely, co-op day is usually on point. I tend to forget to add extra carbs during co-op day. For some reason, I'll put it in my Like my lunch will have carbs and then I won't have any other carbs throughout the day. And I'm like, oh, why am I so hungry? So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I like the awareness around that. It's similar in your Map Your Year call. We talked about that. So I think that's on point. I want to make a challenge to everybody this week. So I've returned to posting like the daily accountability posts, the movement workout roll calls. Like I'm posting inspiration in there too. So if you don't know what to do for workout, you're going to have a piece there that you can use or save, and then Fitme plate inspiration too that everybody can save. But I challenge everybody in Fitme to respond to those accountability posts this week. Like put it out there. If you're doing 2 Fitme plates, then put them on there. If you're hitting your movement, put them on there. Like if you hit your water, put it on there and use it as sort of a game of like, what does it feel like to actually have those basics in place, and have that foundation. It's normal for us to slip, like to kind of just get complacent or forget to do the little things that allowed us to be successful before. But oftentimes then we get annoyed with ourselves and we're like, what's different? What do I need to do? We start looking for a solution, but the thing that we actually have to do is return to the things that were helping us be successful in the first place. I mean, I really see this around meal prep for people that have busy weeks, and that meal prep is key. It's like there'll be weeks of consistency where meal prep happened and then the meals weren't so stressful. All of a sudden dinner was more doable and like there was stuff ready and stuff to go. And then after a few weeks of things feeling out of like not so great, then time passes and all of a sudden it's like, well, it's too stressful to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And we forget that the reason that we were able to be successful with it before was we were doing something differently to create that foundation. So we have to do it differently. I think this really resonates. Again, it depends on what you do for workout. But if you are somebody who used to have a really great warm up and then do a workout, and then all of a sudden you just like slowly get lazy on your warm up and you stop doing it. And then you're like, every time I work out now, I just like don't feel as good, or like I keep getting hurt. And then you don't remember the fact that before you used to do a warm up and now you don't do a warm up anymore. So we forget that that foundational piece was a part of what was working so well before. So my challenge for everybody this week is just a return to basics. Imagine that all of you, everybody in Fitme, just signed up for Fitme on Track. It's your very first week and you're just learning the basics. 2 Fitme plates, drink your water, hit your movement, have your Fitme boundaries in place, and return to that. Pretend like it's day one, and use the accountability posts, and see what changes and pay attention to what changes, because those are your like beep, beep, beep. That's what's changed when I'm doing it. So that's what I need to keep doing. If it meant doing an extra grocery order, if it meant scheduling your workouts, if it meant, going to bed earlier, whatever the changes that you had to make that happen, that's your magic right there. And point that out to your coach. So that is your target for the week. Return to basics, participate in the accountability posts, and then let your coach know what changes you made in order to do that. Any thoughts or questions before we wrap up?
Christy, I just want to say this is actually advice I give at work a lot, and I hadn't connected the two things until I heard you kind of talking about how important this is. But it's not just for when you've let those basics go, but for when you're doing the basics, or you've added to the basics and things get out of control for some reason. Your life goes a little haywire, stress level goes through the roof, something crazy happens. Just really sinking back into those basics and using them as your like cornerstone, your anchor. It's a really powerful thing.
That's such a really great reminder to like end the call with. To be honest, that's what you just said is the motivation for why we start with the basics. and the why we always why they end up being that sort of baseline, because life does happen. And so if you're somebody who you're like, wow, I'm like tracking my portions really well and I'm doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden life throws you like a wackadoodle curveball. Well, you know what? You just return to eyeballing your Fitme plates and you're still in the ballpark. Like, you're still pretty good. You used to go to the gym all the time, and then you get a stupid wrist break. Well, you return to your 30 minutes of walking. Like, you've got that there. So Rachel, thank you for that reminder, because I think that's such a good reason to practice this too, right? Like, build the foundation so that it's there for you. And so that's a great reminder. Thank you, Rachel.
I gotta go. Bye.
Bye, Rachel. Awesome. Well, on this call, we covered a lot of stuff. We talked about the basics. We talked about your target for the week, and I watched Leah wash and dry two very different things: a dog and a bowl of lettuce. Both things were washed and dried on this call. In the same location.
What's that device you were using, Leah?
It's a salad spinner. So like you put this with water and you kind of do it around, and then you take this out and the dirty water's in here. You dump it and then you spin it dry.
Heading to Amazon right now.
It's
Do you have
it's
one
cool.
of those, Leah? Do you have one of those for your dog too?
No, I wish I did.
Yeah.
That would have worked a lot better. I really hope you wash the sink out after you wash your dog.
I did. I took him down to the garden, and he likes to roll in shit, literally.
Awesome.
It was just funny to watch, Leah, like to do the call, watching you wash the dog, dry the dog, and then wash the lettuce and dry the lettuce, all happening right here.
I feel like I'm always very productive during the calls, mentally and
Yes, really good. Salad spinners are legit. And they like double as a, what's it called? Like a colander. Like, you can wash stuff through. Is that what it's called? Where you like rinse stuff. Anyways, I use mine for that too. Sweet, guys. Well, have a fantastic week. If you need anything, just reach out. Good return to the basics, and then I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.